And there they go.
We'll move on. Penultimate leg of Saturday's all stakes, all dirt, pick 5 at Churchill Downs. Got to scroll down here to race 10, the grade 1 Churchill Downs Stakes. Can we come up with a better name than that? Why do we got to name it after the track? It's way too confusing, but this is a great race, Mike. It's a 7-furlong sprint with 8 older males, including 2 just absolute superstars. Jackie's Warrior, probably the best sprinter overall in the country last year, possibly the world on dirt. And then you got Aloha West, number 1. All he did was beat Jackie's Warrior in the Breeders' Cup sprint. Who comes out on top?
Well, this race sets up a little better for Jackie's Warrior in that Breeders' Cup sprint, too. A little bit. Just slightly. Not going to be wildly hounded in between horses going 21 and change. That was a rough race for Jackie's Warrior. It's one of those where it's just like, look, draw a line through it. Everyone from the back came forward. Everyone from the forward went back. And just because of that, it's just get it out of here. So I think Jackie's Warrior is going to run huge here. I like Jackie's Warrior 5-2. I'm not going to get too creative in this spot. I'm going to go too deep, but Jackie's Warrior is my top pick. I think this is a logical wire-to-wire horse. There's just, look, and if anyone wants to go with Jackie's Warrior, they will have to go so hard out of the gate and burn themselves up that I don't see any chance for them finishing. So this is one of those situations where he's going to be up top by a length and a half. And when he gets cruising and comfortable, he is so dangerous in the lead. Now, he never got cruising and comfortable in the Breeders' Cup. I think he will be able to do that over this Churchill track.
I was first want to applaud you. You had every gender pronoun correct that time. I'm so proud of you, Mike. That's great. Because it's tough. You name a horse Jackie's Warrior, we could want to say she.
Yeah, I mean, she makes it hard on me.
Well done. Vicky says Jackie's Warrior to the moon. Mike, I was this close to singling Jackie's Warrior in this sequence. I think that this horse, we talk about in the next race, there's a horse that could either win by 5 or lose by 30. This horse wins by 20 or loses by being wrapped up. Like, there's no in between with this, and I think it's the horse wins. I think, a lot. If you can lock in 5-2, I think do it. No, you're not going to get anywhere close to 5-2. This horse has such a pace advantage. Mike talked about it. In the Breeders' Cup sprint, he had Special Reserve on one side and Matera Sky on the other, and it was a 3-way suicide pace duel. Mike's brought this up before. It's a great thing. Lone speed, love it. 2 speed, that's pretty good. 3 speed, chuck them all. That's 3 is a crowd. It's too much. So love Jackie's Warrior here. We each went too deep, so we're trying to figure out if Jackie's Warrior doesn't fire, who's the horse to use. I went back and forth and almost used the one that you did, so I want you to go ahead and talk to us about Cezanne.
Yeah, and look, this is a horse that's been touted ever since Cezanne ran for the first time. Ran well at Santa Anita, broke its maiden right out of the gate, 4-for-7 career, lost by a neck last time to Folsom, who's a horse I know that you really like, and that was going a mile. I think it was probably a little bit more than Cezanne wants to go. If you look at the other losses, it was in the mile and 16th Shared Belief was a 2-turn race, and then just an absolute no effort in the Palos Verdes, and a heavy favorite. But if you look at what this horse wants to do, it feels like this horse wants to go 7 furlongs. And if I have a concern about Jackie's Warrior, it's that someone decides to challenge her and go in 7 furlongs. She's going to get a little bit tired in that last furlong. He's going to get a little bit tired in that last furlong. I know he's 2 for 3 at the distance. I know he's got so that the 7 furlongs has not been an issue, but he has been caught or almost got caught right at the wire at 7 furlongs. And Prevalence could try. Reinvestment Risk could try. I think there are horses here that could try and push. And if I'm going to take someone from off the pace and I look at, okay, what trainer can kind of hold a Bob Baffert to the same form or possibly even move that horse up? We've seen what happened with Life is Good going into the Pletcher barn. I trust that Cezanne is going to come back as some version of himself. If he's able to do that and he's going to be tactical and someone decides to push Jackie's Warrior, I think he's the most likely one to run him down.
Boy, I went back and forth, and you would think even with being by Curlin and I have a Bernardini mare that when we get when there's a wet track for this race, it's only going to improve the chances. And I wanted to chuck Cezanne immediately. I don't like this horse. This horse is a $3.65 million purchase that's hasn't quite lived up to that billing. Not quite 1% earnings back of that purchase price yet. But we'd heard, this was supposedly one of the greatest horses ever broken at the farm that broke American Pharoah and a bunch of other superstars. I didn't like who was he beating. I looked through this and I'm like, yeah, that Oakland Park race was great. And, for the older male division, it seemed to be okay. And Folsom's running in the Ali Sheba on Friday. So if you want to, see how Cezanne might run, take a look at the Ali Sheba race. But other than that, he's beating a bunch of California horses, 4 or 5 horse fields. That Kona Gold Stakes win, great. He beat 3 horses and the runner-up was Brickyard Ride, who's a complete speed demon Calbred. He hasn't beaten anything. I think that 106 is a ridiculously overrated figure, other than, the time was quick for 114 going 6.5, but he hasn't replicated that since. So it's a boomer bust for him. I didn't end up using him, but I completely understand every reason to use. And by the way, he's with Todd Pletcher now. Todd Pletcher did okay when Life is Good came to him from the Baffert barn. I ended up going with the 5 reinvestment risk. Chad Brown realized, all right, we've got a one-turn horse here. The Breeders' Cup Juvenile was a bad race for him, but we got a horse that's third off the layoff, third time start at age 4. You would think this is when he's going to have a peak performance, and he's exiting back-to-back career best buyers of 103 and 104. The only 2 horses better than that are the 2 that you're using, Jackie's Warrior and Cezanne. This horse runs second to Jackie's Warrior, pretty decent second. A really nice second to Speaker's Corner, considering Speaker's Corner was in hand in the Carter. But if you're running second to those horses a lot in Grade 1 sprints, you've got to be a good horse to be able to do that consistently. So I think stalking and pouncing, that's his style. The Carter was a weird race for him because he broke from the rail and Manny kept looking over, trying to figure out, is someone going to take the lead? Is someone going to take the lead? They hit the first furlong pole. And finally, Manny Franco said, okay, I'll go ahead and take the lead here. Speaker's Corner was outside of him, and Manny was just constantly keeping Speaker's Corner in his sights. Speaker's Corner isn't in this race. Jackie's Warrior could be just as good as Speaker's Corner. He could not. Reinvestment risk for me, I think, is the one that has the best chance to pick up the pieces if Jackie's Warrior isn't the same horse that we saw last year.
The race 2 back is a BS buyer. That's one of my biggest issues with reinvestment risk. Milliken came back today and got rocked at Churchill. That race, there's no way in hell he should have gotten over 100 buyer in that race. That was just a bad buyer there at Gulfstream. So that's one of those races to me where it's just like, nope, don't agree with it. And I just don't love the Carter as much as you do. Yes, Speaker's Corner, exceptional horse. I thought the reinvestment risk looked tired. And I just don't want this horse coming back off it. They went 23.46. That's rather slow for the top level sprinters. And so it's not like that we were setting a scorching pace out there. And then on top of that, they're adding 6 pounds today too. We're going from 117 in that race to 123 today. So if you want to be a pace pressure, which is probably your best chance to Jackie's Warrior, and you're picking up 7 pounds after going 23.46 and not being able to stay with a horse that's probably worse than Jackie's Warrior, I think it's pretty tough to find the race shape that gets reinvestment risk into the winner's circle.
Let's go through here real quick, talk about a couple horses. Neither of us using the Breeders' Cup Sprint Champion, Aloha West, and he's returning from that layoff. We haven't seen him since November. This is a very interesting horse, Mike. He didn't even debut until age 4 last year. He has that magical season 2021, but was it a flash in the pan? He's at a pace disadvantage. This is his first time off the bench, and he's going 7 furlongs, which he's done well at before, but this seems like a combination where you take a shot against the champ.
Yeah, I mean, this horse is clearly better at 6 than 7. You mentioned he did well before. Well, one of those times he ran in a $107,000 stakes race at Churchill going 7. He lost to Bango and Mucho. So there's that. I mean, to me, that was a perfect storm of a Breeders' Cup race, and I'm happy to fade him off it and hope that people bet him because I just look at 10-1. I'm more interested in this horse, but at 7-2, I think that's just wildly short against this group. There's no way that Jackie's Warrior and Aloha West should be 1 tick apart, or Aloha West should be the same price as Cezanne. Like to me, that's just ludicrous. So, or even reinvestment risk for that matter. I think the price is just all wrong here on Aloha West. The setup could be good again. You could get that same type of speed if 2 horses decide to try and collar Jackie's Warrior, but Aloha West needed everything to break right and a miracle head bob to win. And because of that, that's why that line is sitting at 7-2. And I don't bet horses off those types of races.
I saw a few people bring up prevalence as well. 6-1, the 6th horse, kind of interesting. This is another one that, like reinvestment risk, we're getting back to 1 turn. This is where it probably is best. And a couple of nice back-to-back 1-turn efforts, winning in the slop and on fast. But I don't know you, Mike. I didn't use because I think he's trip dependent, and I think he needs to be on the lead and things to be a little slower. He's not faster than He's not nearly as fast as Jackie's Warrior. I think he's just going to kind of spin his wheels here.
That's another one I think needs to improve, and I'm not sure how you can draw a line to the improvement, right? I mean, like good effort at 7 furlongs last time, but beat long range Toddy and Obezos, right? Long range Toddy and Obezos are 20-1 in this spot. So to me, that's the knock there. Is how are you going to see this horse take a step forward? It probably needs a 5 or 6 point buyer jump, needs to improve a little bit, but like it's hard to imagine that this is when we're going to improve when it's what 4th off the layoff, so there's not really a point there. And yeah, the fact that we had 262 non-winners that we had to get through to be able to get to this point don't make me love it either. Now there is the big race from when it broke its maiden, and you kind of point to that and say, well, if we can improve off that, then yeah, you can make a case there. But again, in this field, I think it's tough to try and take someone like Prevalence even with 6-1.
Last one, then we'll move on. The 7 Mind Control. To me, this is a horse that loves Aqueduct, and he was 3rd beaten. He wasn't even close to reinvestment risk in the Carter last out. So I think this horse is over the hill. I think as far as the Grade 1 goes, same for you, Mike?
I'm scared of him at 7 furlongs, man. He's 5 for 15 lifetime, so I think there's some juice at 7 furlongs. But yeah, that last race, it just kind of it had some question marks. Now, Mind Control doesn't want to be in the lead, so that could be your excuse, and it's also second off the layoff. I personally would like Mind Control over Reinvestment Risk, even though Reinvestment Risk beat him last time. But I think it's going to be tough for Mind Control to be better than Sazine from a closing perspective, or try and go early with Jackie's Warrior. So I think it's just kind of a B version of the two horses I'm using.
You better hope Bell's the one and Reinvestment Risk both have bad days, or you're in for a rough Saturday. I'm just kidding.
Look, man, hey. I'm here to have opinions. I'm going to have them.
And they're usually right. We'll move on. But as a Cezanne supporter, where do you want to see him sit pace-wise early to get a chance?
See, here's the thing. I think that you're going to get something funky from Reinvestment Risk or from Prevalence early. I think someone's going to try and press Jackie's Warrior. I think it's going to be a mistake, but I do think you're going to see one of those horses go early. And if you do see one of those horses go early, I think that means that you're going to see Sazine sit third place, maybe fourth place, too wide around the turn, and then be able to kind of wheel out and make a move around and get first run at the leaders. If no one presses, I think Sazine may logically sit in that second spot just to the outside of Jackie's Warrior length back, which I also think is a good spot. It really depends on what Reinvestment Risk wants to do, what Prevalence wants to do, where they want to sit. At worst, he's going to be fourth. Both of these are to me, the she horses anyway. At worst, he's going to be fourth, but I would expect you're going to see Sazine between a length and a half back in third.
Because the name ends in Anne. You should have just picked Sir Alfred James. You should have singled Sir Alfred James. I don't think you would have had an issue with that one. You would have had other issues, but gender pronouns would not have been one of them.
This has been a presentation of RacingDudes.com, your destination for all things horse racing and sports betting. Whether you want free winners, expert insider picks, up-to-the-minute trackside weather reports, or podcasts and videos for bettors of all skill levels. Never make another wager without visiting the Racing Dudes. First,